and welcome, Power Partners. Happy New Year. This is our informational playground, all here for you on a brand new year. StarStyle, be the star you are, brought to the airwaves under the auspices of Be the Star You Are charity. I'm your host, Cynthia Bryan, and we're coming to you on the Voice America Network, the Empowerment Channel. We are hoping to seed and stimulate and support space for positive, meaningful conversations, because I say the best shortcut of all to live the life of your dreams is to know that you have already arrived and to really want it and go for it. The miracle moment for today brought to you by Be the Star You Are charity. Visit BeTheStarYouAre.org. It's from Frederick Buchner. To find our calling is to find the intersection between gladness and the world's deep hunger. And definitely we all have a hunger for satisfaction. Well, what we're going to be talking about today in our segment 2 is the way of the satisfied woman. In segment 3, are you thinking about having a child? Do you want to conceive or not? It seems that many people today are not sure if they want to bring a child into the world. With the wars and global warming and natural disasters and political unrest, as well as economics and other conditions, it's giving pause to the decision to have children. And it's a major life choice, and not everyone is supposed to be a parent. So what do you think about it? We will discuss that in our last segment for today. But first thing I wanted to talk about is that we are in the movie and television awards season. You probably, or you might have already watched the Golden Globes. The Screen Actors Guild Awards, which are my very favorite ones, those on the Oscars, because I get to vote on this, and it's, actors voting for actors, were announced today. And if you do watch a lot of movies or television, you may not be surprised, but I just thought I would give you some of the nominees. So for what we do is we don't say the best motion picture. We give an award for the cast in a motion picture. And the 5 nominees are A Complete Unknown, Anora, Conclave, Emilia Perez, and Wicked. And I think it's going to be a really tough year, tough competition, because everyone that is nominated are so great. For the females, a leader in a leading role, we have Pamela Anderson in The Last Showgirl, and Cynthia Erivo in Wicked, and Carla Sofia Gaston in Emilia Perez, Mikey Madison and Honora, and Demi Moore in The Substance. And I was really happy to see that Demi Moore, or Demi, as how she says it, is back. I think she's really a terrific actress or actor. And so we're really happy. I'm happy that she is nominated. In the outstanding performance by a male actor in a leading role, we have Ralph Fiennes and Conclave, Coleman Domingo in Sing Sing, very interesting. Daniel Craig in Queer, Timothy Chalamet, A Complete Unknown, and Adrien Brody in The Brutalists. And boy, Timothy definitely made he really put his heart and soul in it. If you see listen to any of the interviews with him, 5 years in the making that he was preparing for that. Female actor in a supporting role, we have Monica Barbero, A Complete Unknown, Jamie Lee Curtis again, Last Showgirl, Danielle Deadweiler, The Piano Lesson, Ariana Grande in Wicked, and Zoe Saldana in Emilia Perez. And I never understood why in Wicked both Ariana and Cynthia aren't both leading actors, but at least in this way they both get to go into different categories and not compete against each other. An outstanding performance by a male actor in a supporting role. The nominees are Jonathan Bailey in Wicked, Yura Borsov in Anora, Kira Culkin in The Real Pain, Edward Norton in A Complete Unknown, and Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice. And I was just listening to a SAG interview with Kieran Culkin. He's quite a character, and he really he's been acting since like he was age 3, and he has such a different approach. I mean, he kind of reads the script once, and then he just forgets about it and he shows up and he doesn't like to hit marks and he just does his own thing, but he's just absolutely brilliant. Then we go to Ensemble in a Drama series, and there's Bridgerton, Day of the Jackal, The Diplomat, Shogun, and Slow Horses. And female actor in a drama series, Kathy Bates, Nicola Coughlan, Allison Janney, Kerry Russell, and Anna Saway. And for the males, it is Tanobu Asano from Shogun, Jeff Bridges, Kerry Goldman, Eddie Redmayne, and Hiroshiki Sanada, that's from Shogun. Anyway, there's many other nominees, and I won't say the rest. If you want to see it, who the award nominees are, you could go to sagawards.org and click on nominees, and you'll be able to see who is nominated. But I have seen some of them, not all of them, and there are some repeats that are up, like Abbott Elementary, The Bear, Hacks, Only Murder in the Building. That's kind of exciting. I mean, it means that people really like some of the things that are already on streaming. And many of these shows and movies are already on streaming. Well, now I just want to get to some ways that we can improve our brain health, because it's so important that we take care of our brain. I mean, we want to take care of our cognitive health. And, we always say, okay, that's a no-brainer. Well, but according to a survey published in March, 87% of Americans are concerned about age-related memory loss and a decline in brain function as they grow older. But yet only 32% can believe that there's anything they can do about it. And we all want to be cognitively intact for as long as possible. And what we need to know is that there are risk factors that we can modify. And now it's the beginning of the year, so changing our lifestyle habits is something that a lot of people are doing. And we can start now. You might have heard that the Surgeon General just said that alcohol is detrimental to your health. We always thought that at least a glass of wine was good for your health. I mean, who knows what really is good or not. But for example, drinking excessive amounts of alcohol damage parts of the brain involved in important functions like memory, decision making, impulse control, and attention. Smoking is in the same way, and it can lead to cognitive decline and dementia. And smoking can really increase the risk of stroke. So we have to prioritize our healthy behaviors. Like, we exercise, we need to sleep more, we need to have a nutritious diet. And if we do those things, usually into our 70s, 80s, and maybe beyond, we should be able to summon our important memories. We should be able to drive a car, travel, and engage in all the activities that we really like. And one of the things that all the doctors agree upon is that there is no such thing as starting too young. So if you are a teenager listening to this, or you're in your 20s or 30s, start now. Help maintain your brain health, and it'll help you later in life. So here are a few things that you need to really watch and what you can do. If you have high blood pressure or high cholesterol or diabetes, or have been diagnosed with prediabetes, it's really essential to get this under control, because any condition can damage the blood vessels in the brain, and then that increases the risk of stroke and dementia. And it can diminish cognitive function. Now, there was a study with people who had hypertension in their 40s to early 60s, and they had a 6.5% steeper decline in cognitive skills in their 70s, 80s, and 90s compared to those that just had normal blood pressure. So this is why it's really important to get your numbers checked regularly and to work with your doctor to establish a regular regimen. In one of our previous shows, we talked about these numbers that are important. Also, exercising for like 30 minutes a day will just benefit your body in so many ways, and that includes your brain. Exercising improves cognitive processes and memory while increasing the thickness of your cerebral cortex, which is responsible for the tasks that we use, like language or thinking or emotions. So, er, all scientists, they're learning more and more about the benefits of regular exercise for not only our bodily health, but for our brain health and for actually our mental health as well. So it's interesting. Exercise just might be that miracle cure. So if you can keep exercising and not to excess, a moderate exercise, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, would be just great. Now, the other thing is when we're talking about nutrition, think again about that Mediterranean diet. That emphasizes fruits and vegetables and whole grains and fish and nuts and seeds and healthy fats like olive oil, or eating avocados. If there is any secret ingredient that makes that diet work, it might be like the omega-3s that are in the fish, or maybe even the vitamin E that's in the nuts. But what's, I think, important is that style of eating and an emphasis on whole foods. So you're reading a lot now about processed foods and ultra processed foods. We just want to stay away from them as much as possible. So as much as you can get fresh vegetables. I mean, and the key word here is fresh. Fresh fruits, whole grains, fish, nuts, seeds, those kinds of things. That is a Mediterranean diet. And then again, moderate is the word. And how to challenge your mind. If you wonder what kind of mental stimulation is best, a lot of people say, well, should I do a puzzle every day? Should I do a Sudoku? Should I do a word game? Should I play a video game? It really doesn't matter. The important thing, according to doctors, is you have a diet of intellectual activities. So the answer isn't always going to be the same. If you can just exercise your brain in a variety of ways, it's like the same way that you would feast on a buffet of all the best and healthiest foods. So the whole idea is stretch your mind. And then, of course, rest up. Not getting enough sleep is a key factor for dementia. So we really want to get enough sleep, and that is 7 to 9 hours a day. And really take it seriously. If you are not the kind of person that gets good sleep, take a nap. Well, that's all we have for this segment. You're listening to Cynthia Bryan. This is StarStyle. Be the star you are. We'll be right back, so stay with us. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. You're listening to Star Style, Be the Star You Are. We're coming to you on the Voice America Radio, the Empowerment Channel. And I'm your host, Cynthia Bryan. This program is brought to you under the auspices of Be the Star You Are charity, empowering women, families, and youth. And we have a special guest today on our show. Her name is Alana Kaivalya. And her book is The Way of the Satisfied Woman, Reclaiming Feminine Power. Not only is she an author, but she is also an educator and an expert on mythology and spirituality and psychology and women's empowerment. So perfect for, a show about women's empowerment. Welcome, Alana, to Star Style, Be the Star You Are.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Cynthia. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's really great to have you on the show. And I thank you for writing your book because we are all about empowering women. And of course, we want to be satisfied women. So we need to know how to reclaim our power. Well,
Yeah.
the first thing that really attracted me when I was reading your book is you talk a lot about grandmothers, and you actually dedicated this book to your grandmother. You
Yes,
said a woman who endured a life in which she was denied agency so that I could live to be empowered with so much of it. And I thought this was such a through line throughout your whole book
oh, yeah.
because you over and over in chapter after chapter, you really talk about the importance, the elegance of the connection, and what our grandmothers have done with it for us all. Would you address that before we get into more things on your book?
Absolutely. I am so pleased that you saw the dedication and that it resonated with you. I can't speak highly enough of my beloved grandmother. Um, she was such a force for me growing up. I had a pretty difficult childhood with some challenging parents, a divorce, some mental illness with my parents, and my grandmother and my grandfather too. I don't want to leave him out, but my grandmother really understood the power of her role in my life and stepped in as my protector and my cherisher over and over again. And even as a young girl, I always had this sense of how incredibly important she was in my life and how grateful I was to have her. She was a Ukrainian immigrant who survived World War II. She was stuck in a prison camp for years during the war and then
That's
actually
terrific.
ended up living there for 13 years as a refugee in Germany before she finally made it to America. I am a good person. I believe I'm a good person today because of her. She imbued
Mhm.
me with an incredible work ethic and love. She really, really loved me, and she showed me the power that women have, and the ability that they have to really shape and change the lives of others. I can't, she's just amazing. Her name is Maria, by the way.
How fortunate I think that you were to have her in your life because, in your book, you do mention some of the trials that you've had to undergo throughout your life. And I think by having a person like that who lived through so much as a woman and survived it and still was able to keep her sense of self
Yes.
and was able to give so much when she had so little.
She was so generous, Cynthia. She was so
Hmm.
generous.
I
And she
feel
had,
it. I feel
yeah,
it.
she had that mindset that people who grew up in those times in that era did, where she was very thrifty and very frugal, but it never stopped her from giving. She
Mhm.
made all of her own clothing. She made every dress I ever wore up until about the third grade. She cooked, she really loved me through food.
Hmm.
And she
That's
just,
that's an important thing. That's how I mean, I'm Italian, and that was, I mean, food is the way to. That was all we were always taught. That the
yeah,
way to love is you put a lot of love in your food, and that's how you show your love.
that's secret ingredient there is.
It's the best one. Well, yeah. So I really appreciated that because she's just an incredible role model. And I'm sure that when you were writing this book, you were, channeling much of her energy. And that gets me to the next question that I have because I believe in it so much too. One of the other things you really talk about in order to be a satisfied woman and an empowered woman is to trust our intuition.
Yes.
I've been a person and that was always taught, listen to your gut, listen to your gut. If it doesn't feel right in your gut, it's wrong, don't do it.
Mhm.
And if you're in a situation and you get those hairs on your back, run, get out of there. Don't do it. So it's so interesting because not many people are talking about it these days. I don't find that it's enough. So let's talk about the intuition and how that really shapes the importance of empowerment as well as being part of our satisfaction and how it really leads us to success.
Yeah, absolutely. I would name probably the two cornerstone qualities of femininity as intuition and our emotional depth. And qualities of the feminine have been vilified, minimized, devalued, so much so that even often we as women devalue these things within us, or we try to repress them within us in favor of things like logical thinking
Which
or
is which is the male, the masculine
it
energy.
is, yes. And like it or not, we do live in the patriarchy. We are subject to it. We're all raised in this. And so there's just a lot of messaging and narratives and ideas that are really ingrained within us that we need to start questioning. And one of the things is this idea of intuition. It's often been feared. Women's intuition is often feared because it raises questions.
Well, you're a witch,
Change. Exactly.
you
You're
know?
right. Yeah, exactly. So better to repress it and try to control it than to allow it to flourish. But for the feminine woman, intuition is critical. It's absolutely critical because it's a knowing that sets you on your path in such a way that allows you to live the most fulfilled life possible. And no good, Cynthia, has ever come from anyone not listening to their intuition. There will
You,
always be suffering when you don't listen to your intuition.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think about taking an exam, and I never liked taking tests. Many people are ace them, but I just never liked them. But if ever there was a multiple choice, I just know that my first gut feeling,
Uh-huh.
based on my studies and based on what I really knew and had practiced for, was always the right answer. And anytime I changed an answer, I missed it.
Always. That's a great
Right? Yeah.
example. Yeah, it's a great example, actually. And I think that because we are so enculturated at this point to overvalue logical thinking, that when intuition arises for us, we often second guess ourselves. And that's like
Hmm.
getting the wrong answer, Cynthia.
Hmm.
That's like remarking your multiple choice, and
Hmm.
you're going to fail that test.
Hmm. No, I totally agree. And I really think it's so important to honor that part of us that I mean, it's coming, it's like our gut, our stomachs, or wherever our intuition. It's like another brain in our body, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it's a more important brain. And when I was growing up, we used to always say call my mom. We always said she was a witch, but a good witch, right? It's
Uh-huh.
it's like Glenda, the good witch,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
because it'd be so crazy. It'd be a beautiful sunny day, and she would say, "Oh, I want you to take an umbrella." We grew up on a farm, so it would be like, and we'd be far away from anywhere. And I go, "Why?" She goes, I just feel it. I feel it in my gut. It's going to rain. And sure enough, it would. Or,
Wow.
or she would say, "Oh, pick up the phone." I go, "Well, it hasn't even rung." She goes, "Oh, yeah, your aunt's on it." And you'd pick up the phone. This in the days, before there was cell phones, there's a landline. And sure enough, there would be the person on. She just always had this inner knowing of what was going on. And I hope that I've grabbed a little of that because I loved it so much. It was like, she was always right every time she said, listen to your gut, she was always right.
Yeah.
So to me,
Well,
that was empowering.
absolutely. And your intuition is always right. And the thing is it's not logical. It's not always going to make sense. And we're not always going to
Right.
understand why our intuition is calling us in a certain direction or to a certain thing. And we need to reclaim a sense of comfort with that not knowing, with
Hmm.
that following of the intuition and not always understanding where it leads. We demand so much certainty with logic and with these kind of more masculine and patriarchal tropes. But certainty doesn't always get us where we need to go. Sometimes we need to throw caution to the wind and have a little faith and step into the unknown because that's
Well,
where,
that comes
magic
from being,
happens.
yes, and that's being the wild woman, right? And we need to all be a little bit wild, as you say in your book.
Yep.
So, what do according with your book, The Way of the Satisfied Woman, and if anyone's just joining us, this is the book we're talking about today, The Way of the Satisfied Woman, Reclaiming Feminine Power. Give us the example of how you really define what is feminine power.
Well, I mean, I
I know
would,
it's kind of like what we've been talking about.
yeah, I think that I mean, the feminine is powerful, right? It just is powerful. And we've forgotten that. And so the idea is that we do need to reclaim it and step into our power and stop minimizing the things that make us feminine women, which is different than the masculine. And it's not less than, it's not
Right.
less valuable. It is actually equally as powerful. And when the masculine and feminine are both in their power, that's when true great
Magic happens.
flourish. Yeah. So, I don't like, I just think that the feminine is powerful. There's nothing
Mhm.
to, redo about it or reimagine it about it, but to really own it and to really know yourself as that, I think is a great first step. Reclaiming your intuition, having faith in your intuition, understanding that your emotions are not bad. Women are very often vilified for any kind of emotion. One of the biggest things that people call women who are emotional is crazy.
Or
I
hysterical,
Yeah,
coming from hysteria from the uterus, right? I mean,
exactly. Yep. So, people are afraid of women's emotions. Women are afraid of women's emotions. It's time to just let that fear go and be who we are, be most fully who we are, because we suffer when we're not, and we're definitely not empowered when we're
well,
not.
and I think what so many women have tried to do on the ladder of success
Mhm.
is to just emulate men. But
Yeah,
men and women are so different. I mean, and this is why we're good together. I mean, we really are compatible because we bring different things to the table, right? And we can be great together, but we can also be great on our own. And so trying to be like a man is not what a woman needs to be satisfied.
no, it's true. And so many of us get caught in that trap. I call it donning the mask of the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, unfortunately, it is actually sometimes the safest way to navigate this world that we're in. And so that's why so many women end up doing it because we're raised with the devaluation of feminine qualities. We have a harder road to climb in life generally just by nature of the fact that we are women. And that idea of success, that DIY individuality must be all things to all people at all times, including yourself really causes women to put this mask of masculinity on and almost armor themselves up for the world, to brace themselves to go out and try to play life on men's terms. And those are just not our terms. This world was just not built with the feminine in mind, and it wasn't built to cherish the feminine. So there's a difficult tension here that yes, we want to be in our feminine, we want to relax into the feminine, but this world is so demanding of the masculine. So I think really where we begin is in our just individual lives, curating our individual lives every day, a place of safety, of trust, of security, and being cherished so that we can start to relax and drop that mask and really be held in our own femininity, because that's where we're going to thrive. Anytime we force ourselves into the wrong polarity that isn't our primary one, we're going to feel overwhelmed and burnt out. So burnout is
Is
really the
bad.
effect of bringing too much masculinity forward when that's just not who you are.
Well, and you just gave, those are the four keys that
Yes.
you talk about in your book, The Way of the Satisfied Woman. So you have stated that you feel the most important thing to help a woman be satisfied is to feel safe, and that is safe from harm in mind, body, and heart, to
Mhm.
feel secure that all your needs are provided for, right?
Yep.
And to trust in yourself and your situation and to trust in others.
Yep.
And then to feel cherished. And that means there we come into both having our emotions and our intuition recognized and honored.
That's
But
right.
but for some people, it's hard to feel that, especially if they haven't given permission to themselves to really hone into those four keys. So how do they begin? How do they do that? What is a first step?
Well, I'm a huge fan of a heavily curated life. I think it's okay if you read the book and you look at these four keys and you look around and you think to yourself, wow, I actually don't feel safe in this space, or
Hmm.
I actually don't feel secure. Stop going to that space.
Yeah.
Fire that friend. Move jobs.
Clean your closets out. And I call it
Yeah,
cleaning your closets. If you're not feeling loved by, or cherished by somebody, or they're bugging, you don't have to be with them, right?
have to be with them. I do think it's
Even if
all.
it's a family member. I mean, yeah, I think it's a little harder, but you don't have to.
Well, you can't fire everybody, right?
Mm.
Some people you will have to learn to live with or navigate around in some way or create really strong boundaries with. I do think it's also okay. I mean, look, a lot of women will not have known this before reading it. So they
Right.
might not have even given it a thought. So I think it's also fair to teach people, to tell people in your life, hey, you know what? I've identified why I'm so burnt out and why I'm so unhappy. And here are the things I would like to create for myself. Can you help me? But give people an opportunity to opt in. Just because they're not cherishing you right now may just be as a result of they don't know how to do it. They don't know what you need. So give people that you love and around you an opportunity to step up into these roles. And if they really can't do it, if they're not capable of it, then yeah, go ahead and curate that. Curate
Yeah.
it.
Well, there are so many different things that you bring about in the book on how to feel satisfied and how to feel that you are, that you're not being put upon all the time and how to have satisfying relationships. But one of the things that I really like as we get to the end of the book, as you and the chapter called Ascending the Throne.
Hmm.
So the blessings of the Queen.
Yep.
I like that. I really like that a lot because when we do discover our ways that we are already powerful and that we really can be the woman that we believe that we are, and that way we can offer not only our joy, but our skills and our talents and our love, and then we can pass it on to others and to the next generation, which is
Yeah.
important, right?
It's critical. Yeah.
It is critical. And that gets me to your question that you ask at the end of the book, which I ask myself this all the time, and I think people always need to. What is my legacy?
Hmm.
So let's just dive into that just for a little bit. How
Sure.
how do we want to be remembered? What are the virtues, the lessons? What do you think that the satisfied woman, the empowered woman needs to impart to someone else or the next generation?
I mean, the first and most critical thing is really her own satisfaction.
Mm.
She needs to live a
Hey,
life.
great answer.
She needs to live a life that is satisfied, so people see it. It will enrich those around her. They
Hmm.
will remember that because people remember how you make them feel, not what you.
Right. They don't remember what you say. They always remember how you treated them.
Yep, exactly.
Hmm.
So I think that's the first most important legacy building effort is to find your own path of satisfaction and let that speak for you.
My daughter's always, from the time she was young, she would kind of ask me this question and she would say, I know what I'm going to put on your gravestone.
Mm.
When she was like 6, and I was like, what? She goes, my mom lived her dreams and she helped everyone she knows live theirs.
Oh, that's
And
so
she was
sweet.
like 6. And I said,
Oh,
wow, that was very, very astute. And I've never forgotten it. And I think she empowered me to live up to that. Do you
yeah.
know? I mean, so
Wow.
to me, she was a satisfied little girl and still is as a young woman. But what a wonderful thing to say. And that's actually what a satisfied person would say and do, right?
It
You,
absolutely
you,
is. I
you,
mean, satisfaction is not a selfish endeavor. It's a communal endeavor.
hmm.
I love the old saying, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, right?
Yeah. Oh, what
So,
a good one. It's so
mama
true.
can be any woman. It can
Uh-huh.
be whoever that feminine is, but she's not going to be satisfied if the community around her is also not happy.
Right.
So,
Right.
it's women are the satisfaction of a woman is horizontal,
Mm,
right? It spreads outward as opposed to success, that masculine idea of success, which is very vertical, very linear, and often at the expense of others. So women's satisfaction is actually beneficial to all those around her, and that's an incredible legacy. I heard something many years ago that frankly it scared me, but I think about it a lot and it's true. You only live as long as the last person who remembers your name.
that's right. And they say it's about 3 generations. Do you know? I mean, maybe it'll be longer, but
It
in
depends on your
general,
legacy, right? It depends on the
yeah.
kind of legacy that you leave. And
Hmm.
legacies that bring joy and fulfillment to others get talked about for many lifetimes.
Hmm.
I mean, you think
And
about
you know,
musicians of old
one
or
of the things
people
that
who've written
you
books.
just said touched something I thought about is also when we are living as satisfied women, we're successful in our lives because we're happy, right? That happiness generates out to others.
Yes.
And and because of that, we never know what we say or do or how we treat others, how they look at it, not only now, but forever. I mean, I am sure it happens to you, but I get notes and emails and calls from people that I met 30 years ago
Yeah.
that I don't remember what I said or did or what, but they did.
Yeah.
And, and it's that just leads me to think, always lead your life with positive intuition. Go with your intuition, go with your gut. It's not going to steer you wrong. And to be a kind and generous and happy person, like your grandmother, despite what obstacles you have to live through,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about lately, values versus goals.
Mm-hmm.
So goals are achievable things, and goals might shift or change and in response to whatever's happening, but values are intrinsic and they're lived every day. And, I think about my grandmother in this context, about how, a lot of her goals in life were shattered. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of the things that she may have wanted for herself at one time were broken. Her life was really challenging and difficult in many regards, but she lived her values every day, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Every single day, no matter where she found herself, no matter what she was going through, she lived from a place of love and generosity.
And that's just a wonderful, wonderful legacy
Yeah,
to leave for the world. And this is the way that I think that we should all live our lives. Well,
yeah,
we're at the end of our time, Alana, but I really have enjoyed The Way of the Satisfied Woman, Reclaiming Feminine Power. You can pick up a copy, visit the website, thesatisfiedwoman.com. And I'm just so happy that you dedicated this to your wonderful grandmother because it just says something about the wonderful women everywhere that we can look up to. And we need to treasure our elders much more than we do in our society here
Absolutely.
today, because, we all have something to give. But continue being satisfied, continue spreading the love, and continue living your values, because you are changing the world. So thank you so much. TheSatisfiedWoman.com. The Way of the Satisfied Woman is the name of the book. Thank you, Alana, so much for being on StarStyle. Be the star you are.
Thank you so much, Cynthia.
Thank you. Well, you're listening to Cynthia Bryan on Star Style, Be the Star You Are. We'll be right back with our last segment when we're talking about baby talk. Stay with me. Don't go away. Humor is serious business. You can take your career seriously, but always take yourself lightly. In a survey of over 737 CEOs, 98% said they would rather hire somebody with a good sense of humor than somebody without one. If you are willing to laugh at yourself and your mistakes, you are better prepared to handle stress in the workplace. Humor builds positive working relationships and improves morale. Norman Cousins, in his book Anatomy of an Illness, found that laughter enhances respiration, circulation, and oxygenates the blood and suppresses the stress-related hormones in the brain. Laughing with others builds confidence and camaraderie. More corporations are realizing the positive effects of humor and are building it into their culture. Businesses don't have to be boring. Humor makes for better, serious business. Remember, you're the star of your own performance. Turn your passions into profits. This is Cynthia Bryan with another business bite from Star Style. For more information, visit cynthiabryan.com. That's Cynthia Bryan, Bryan with an I.com. Well, thanks again for staying here on Star Style, Be the Star You Are with me, Cynthia Bryan, coming to you on the Voice America Network and brought to you by Be the Star You Are charity, empowering women, families, and youth through positive literacy and positive media messages. Well, in this segment, it's all about baby talk. Are you thinking about having kids or unsure about having kids? What do most people, doctors, and experts think about this? Well, more people, both men and women, are thinking really critically about a real major life choice that not too long ago was seen as a given. And as a given, it's about having kids. But about a third of US adults under the age of 35 today who don't already have kids say they don't know whether they want them or not. And only 22% of people in that age group say having kids is important or very important for living a fulfilling life. And that's according to 2024 statistics from a Pew Research Center. A stunning 50% of all US adults under 50 who don't already have kids say that they will stay child free forever. And most say they simply don't want kids. But financial strain and concerns about the state of the world and the environment, and also common reasons, according to other Pew data, people are feeling so much angst about when, how, whether they should procreate. And it's a lot of psychological concepts have emerged that help make sense of how people are making these decisions. I mean, there are shifting cultural norms, of course. There's evolving ideas about gender and sexuality and partnerships and concerns about politics and climate change, which is a really big one. And I'm going to go into that more in a bit more depth. Gun violence. And of course, that we've had a really brutal economic recession. It left many 20 and 30 somethings really unsure about parenting because it's really hard to take care of yourself, much less to take care of a child. Now, people who already have kids know that it is really impossible to grasp what you're in for before you actually become a parent because it's a life altering decision. And it comes with a lot of uncertainty. You can't really know how you're going to feel about waking up in the middle of the night because your child is sick or screaming, or, or how many diapers you're going to have to change. You don't know how you're going to feel about all of this. I mean, how can anyone, even a trained mental health professional, help anyone make a decision? It's a very momentous decision that has to be made. And so we really have to think about it before we dive into it. Now, the climate crisis projections continue to intensify, and this is leading some people to question the morality of having a child and others to fear what kind of world their future offspring would actually inherit. And the rollback of reproductive rights has many people worried about what would happen if their pregnancy went wrong. I mean, even many women in states that have really robust reproductive care now are reporting deep fears about the risks of pregnancy and childbirth because the news and social media are so full of unbelievable horror stories that many women and men now think outcomes that are bad but rare, they could be likely. And so this makes potential parents worried about how a baby could be born into this world. Some couples worry about the balance of power or the division of labor in their partnership. And this is a really relevant concern, especially now that women outnumber men in the college educated workforce. So it really is a difficult time for could be, would be parents. They are confronted from so many angles, um, with many different people. I mean, there are the billionaires like Elon Musk, who, I don't know, he has 9 kids or something from several different women. But he argues that the declining birth rate is going to lead to societal collapse. But on the other side, there's a small and growing anti-natalism movement that argues it's irresponsible to bring children into this very violent and overpopulated planet that is plagued by worsening climate crisis. So these forces really weigh heavily on people. And both men and women are struggling with that baby decision more than ever, wondering, do they or do they not? Do you breed? Do you not breed? Do you decide to have children? We're in this more complicated climate crisis. So the kid question for many, I want to go into the climate thing because this is what seems to be on so many people's minds is when you factor in the climate change, it gets so complicated because the perils we face from ongoing fossil fuel use and rising temperatures have made family making so fraught, and no parent wants their child to suffer. So, what harm will be done under these considerations? What harm will the world do to the baby, or what harm will the baby do to the world? So, all this chatter about procreation doesn't only highlight how climate change affects women specifically, but it also draws out racial dimensions of the crisis because many people of color, they want to form families, but their own existing social vulnerabilities, as well as how they might be compounded by climate emotions and climate impacts, gives them pause. And then that anxiety actually is layered on top of fears and concerns that their future children will endure discrimination, injustice, and an increasingly unlivable planet. So, womanhood has never been so reduced to motherhood across cultures and centuries. I mean, women have controlled their fertility for centuries. They delayed marriage to limit family size. Sometimes they used herbs to induce miscarriages. They entered religious orders that required abstinence. They created art or businesses in lieu of parenting. In the 60s, the pill and the IUD revolutionized medical control over fertility. And then in 73, there was Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court decision that protected the rights to contraception and abortion. Of course, now with the 2022 Dobbs versus Jackson, it erased Roe versus Wade and it reminded everyone that the tools for family decision making are not secure. And so women have been stripped of their choice more often than not. I mean, we think about slaveholders who violently used enslaved Black women's bodies as tools for reproducing plantation labor for force, and then they'd make a profit. They would sell their own kids. And there was also that eugenic ideology in the United States in the early 1900s with poor Black indigenous women that were seen unfit to reproduce, and they received contraception and sometimes sterilization without consent. And a lot of women in Puerto Rico and other countries like Bangladesh were subject to programs like this as well. So supporters of population control often drove these development efforts and sometimes used environmental protections as a veil for their positions. So, what are we to do? This is something that only you as a couple can really decide. Becoming a parent radically transforms you, and you won't really know what it is or how you're going to be until you are in it. But as disasters scale up, so does our sense of guilt. What will we do to our child? What are we doing to ourselves? It's a really a tough road to walk, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention that birth rates are down literally in so many different countries, but it's not something you could take lightly anymore. So if you are considering having children or considering not having children, just know you're not alone and there are resources out there, and don't let people guilt you into either having them or not having them. So just remember why it is important to you and live by your own values. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you for staying tuned to StarStyle, Be the Star You Are. We are always with you here on the Voice America Network, the Empowerment Channel. You can change your life and make your dreams come true. For more information about StarStyle Productions or to purchase any of my books, visit my website, CynthiaBryan.com. To find out more about Be the Star You Are charity that won Nonprofit of the Year, visit Be the Star You Are charity. Well, no, that's wrong. BeTheStarYouAre.org. Well, you can type in Be the Star You Are charity into a search engine and you would find us. So my aim is always to encourage, inspire, inform, amuse, and motivate. See beyond your physical being. Know you are already the star you dreamed of becoming. Cherish the past, dream of the future, and celebrate every moment of your life. And read a book this week and be a satisfied woman. Until next week, when we celebrate once again, remember that love always wins, kindness always prevails, and smiles will keep us happy. I'm Cynthia Bryan for StarStyle, thanking you and encouraging you. Be your unapologetically authentic self. Be the star you are. Thanks for joining me.